Welcome back to the record player, everybody. Scott here. Usually the intro is spent telling you about our guest, but today I'd need an entire other time slot to tell you about today's guest and all the things that he has done. I will try my best to pare it down for you, though. He is an acclaimed actor, musician, songwriter, and all-around entertainer who has appeared on practically every TV show that's ever been made. However, my memories of him are mostly from MacGyver, Melrose Place, Roseanne, Miami Vice, and of course WKRP in Cincinnati, as well as countless films, starting with To Sir With Love, and then Under Siege, Mulholland Drive, and one of my personal favorites that didn't get enough credit, by the way, Pink Cadillac. Musically, he has fronted countless successful bands, starting with Silverhead, then Detective, Checkered Past, Power Station, where he performed in front of millions of people at Live Aid in 1985. He has sat at #1 on the Billboard charts after writing one of music's most recognizable hits, Obsession, for the popular 80s band Animotion. And every single day he gets to sit in front of a mic himself to play music for millions of people as a DJ on Sirius XM's Little Steven's Underground Garage. And to top it all off, he has a brand new record, solo album coming out tomorrow, which is called It's Only Rock and Roll, right here. There you go. It's Only Rock and Roll. He is a true rock and roll renaissance man. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Michael DeBar joining us today in the record player. How are you, Michael?
I'm exhausted.
I'm not
It's so funny, when I do interviews, which I love to do, by the way. I love to talk to people on this vibe, but it just reminds me of so many different things swirling around in my head, man. There's so many wonderful things that have happened in my life, and a lot of awful, dark moments in my life, which makes the lighter side of life brighter. You could be much more grateful for something if you've been heinously dark. So that's why I wear sunglasses when I'm sleeping, which is the title of my next album. I'm kidding.
Oh, do you ever forget some of the things you've done until people start?
I do. But I sort of like snap into it, because the thing is, you do telly, you're doing the TV. I'm killing everybody for the 80s and 90s. It was like, I was Jack the Tripper, but I was an acid murderer. So you forget, man, you forget what you've done. But the ones that remain there, are usually something that happened off camera, where one has met, for instance, the biggest, the first biggest movie I made was To Sir With Love. So I became really friendly with Sidney, and he became my de facto father, because I didn't have parents, my dad and my mom were not around, and he became that guy. So I always remember him, and I always remember the quiet kindness of Richard Dean Anderson, who of course played MacGyver, a sweet man, really, really sweet, and super popular. It's a really fun show to do. And the other thing is not to ramble on, but I'm lucky to do anything, to do all of those things. It's been pure luck. I've worked hard, though, and at least I've had that reputation, that I turn up on time, and I'm not some rocker that, I can't, what, oh yeah, all right, It's not that at all. I'm very strict, because I went to these horrible schools, these boarding schools, which were very disciplinarian, and I had to stay in those schools because my dad was in jail, my mom was unfortunately in a psychological state, and I never knew him.
It was acting that kind of got you through all that, right? I mean, that was...
It really, really was. Being somebody else was a relief. It was a journey. It was a holiday. It was a vacation, and it was a vocation.
You and I have been trying to hook this talk up for almost a year now. We've been talking and trying to get it done. We couldn't have picked a better time, because tomorrow this comes out. It's Only Rock and Roll. It is a record that you are very passionate about, and so you should be.
Yeah.
Tell us the concept behind the record and why this is so special to you.
Well, I realized that, making records stuff is great, and I love doing it. Stevie Van Zant's been very generous to allow me to make records for him. You know, I've had 1,700 different record labels, as you probably know. So this is not any of that. It's nothing to do with that. What it's to do with is the roots of my rock and rollness. And for me, the height of rock and roll is, you know, Johnny Bennett, or one of the people, you know, guitar, bass, drum, singer. That's it. I don't want to hear anything else. Not even a tambourine, maybe a little bit of a tambourine. But essentially, I'm trying to get away from smart, prophetic folk singers with all due respect, a beard. And so I just wanted to get into the music that I loved, you know. I'm a little beardy myself. But, you know, like in the beginning, it was so fun in the 70s, late 60s. It was just a remarkable vibe. Every night there'd be some band that you adored. So what to me was, I'm into So With Love, I can get in anywhere. I was 18 and I was in this movie and you could, oh, get him in here, you know. And I saw everybody from the Yardbirds, the early Yardbirds, you know, the first Yardbirds and the second Yardbirds and the third, you know, and all of that is there, you know, and Stevie Marriott and Rod, the Faces, and all of these rocking bands that really, you know, in high heel Cuban boots and silk pants and eyeliner and Muddy Waters. I mean, that's an incredible cocktail or rocktail in this case. And it was a wonderful time. So I thought, well, what do I want to do? I can't, you know, travel through space, but maybe I can. And then I thought, okay, I'll do a covers album. Everybody does it. David did it, you know, and it pin-ups and, you know, everybody. And I thought that was a great homage to where I came from. And apparently everybody loves it, you know. Yep. They're really enjoying it. It's really, I don't know if you followed the course of this thing, but it comes out tomorrow, October the 11th. It's only rock and roll, and that's the only title I could think of. You know?
It makes perfect sense when you look at the track listing. I mean, it really is only rock and roll, right?
It really is. You know, the Sweet and Mud and the Faces and the Iggy and Lou Reed, and you know, it still goes with very, very smart people, but they were smart enough to be simple. You know, these songs are not complicated. You don't have to be Roger Waters to understand what's happening. This is you know, this is a polka dot, you know, Floyd. You know, I mean, it's completely opposite. There's no intellectualism here at all. This is music for people below the belt. You know, that's it. It's sexy. And it's exciting, and I'm really excited about what's happening to it, which sounds so fucking corny when I say that, you know. And I really am, and this is the best movie I've ever made. Do you know how many times I've said that? Every movie. You know?
When I was listening to the songs though, and going through them, I was like, okay, he really has kept the vibe of the original song. Obviously, because that's what he wanted to do, but you've made it yours, right? You've put your spin on it.
Oh yeah,
right. These aren't just songs that have meaning for you. These are songs by people who you have been great friends with throughout your life. So, have you had any feedback from many of the people that you've, you know, that you did these songs, the ones that are still with us?
I've had notes from everybody.
Yeah,
I've had notes from people. Like I can't even, you know, I wouldn't even get into because I sound so, you know, it sounds like I'm doing I'm on a late night talk show, you know. But but your questions are fabulous, however. But yes, I've received a lot of notes from people I admire greatly, you know. But I'm not going to spread that around town, you know, because then people think, well, I should too, or maybe I shouldn't, or maybe we should talk about it. He's showing off again. He's an exhibitionistic person, and they're absolutely right. I'm an exhibitionist through and through, and I get paid for it.
Exactly, and you're so good at it too. These songs? How do you pick 12 songs? I mean, you've got probably so many songs that affected your life, hundreds of them. You probably got enough to make 3-4 more albums. I mean,
I'm intending on making 3 or 4 more albums. I'm going to do the 50s, the 60s, the 80s, and 90s. You know?
That was my next question. Is this something you're going to continue to do?
Oh yeah. Oh no. I'll like Rod did with the Sinatra vibe. You know, he did all of that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that because I mean they called me this morning and said, MDB, start writing the next one, you know. And I, strangely enough, to answer your question, how did I pick the songs? That's a great question. It took me 10 minutes because once I really was there and I was in the moment, I knew what I'd loved, you know, Rod and Mick and, you know, Lou Reed, Iggy, all these great singers, and Noddy Holder.
Yeah.
From Slade, you know. I mean, these guys could sing, man. Like Terry Reid, you know, who can sing. Great singers, great songs, really lovely hooks, you know, that you can go around singing. You listen to it once and you can, you know, sing it in the shower. But so it was very quick, man. I went bam, 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 you know, and it just came out of me. And then I thought, well, what am I going to do with it, you know? And I thought, you know, because it's difficult to get a cover record. It's hard to get out. It's hard to get a record out there right now. Yeah. But I came across some great people. You know, Muriarty's helped me. I called him. I said, you know, can you help, you know, get a label that would be able to go through this with me? And he suggested Rock Ridge Music. And he's a fantastic guy. You know, he is Muriarty's. You know, he's a very powerful man in the music business. And he bought Springsteen's thing, Queen's thing, all of them. You know, he's billions of dollars he's given to, you know, true rock and roll musicians. And I knew him. He loved Silverhead, my first band, when he was 13 years old. You know, and now he's, you know, buying Bruce Springsteen's, you know, book. Yeah. Songbook, and so he got me these people, and they're great. They really, really have been wonderful. Rock Ridge Music. Thank you, you guys.
You had to obviously find a great band to do this too. Are you going? Is this something you're taking out? Is this something you're going to go out on the road with? Don't know. Thinking about it.
Depends on the size of the bus. If I can, and by that I mean, if it's truly successful, because it isn't even out yet, and yet people all over the world are playing, you know, Love Is the Drug, you know, Fox on the Run, they're already playing these songs. I mean, it's literally unheard of what's going on. Because why? Because DJs have heard everything else. Yeah. And they probably might not have heard these songs, you know, from their childhood, you know, from mine. I was friendly with Jesus, you know. It's a long, so it's a long way back. He's a sweet guy, by the way. Tremendous manners, strangely. But you know, man, I'll go on the road if it's appropriate.
If it's there.
But you know what I want to do, just quickly? I want to talk in between the songs. I don't just go up there and do, you know, I love the drum solo. You know, I want to, like I do on the radio, talk about music. And that would be, you know, I'm pretty skilled at that because I've been doing it for a decade now for Stevie, right? And I know every producer, every writer, every, you know, the guy that cleaned up at the Tamla Motown studios, and the, you know, I just absolutely know what's going on that level. And I would love to entertain people and bring them in to what I believe is rock and roll music. He was rock and roll music. This guy.
He sure was. And now he's looking over your shoulder, making sure you're doing it.
Yeah. There's no better. Yeah.
I had the privilege this summer of interviewing Midjour, and we talked about the anniversary of Live Aid. You were there, of course, and you performed with Power Station. Is it true? I'm not sure how much truth there is to this, but I mean, this was the biggest live music event in history. 1A, 1B with probably Woodstock, I would say, in my generation anyway. Is it true that you literally got that gig like a week before? Like you were
3 days.
You put in that spot a week?
3 or 4, I think it was 4 days. Wow. I got to do it. And it was just a few songs at Live Aid, but the very next day, I think we went to Miami because my friend Don Johnson got up there and sang with me, but I really, I don't know, there's no teleprompter. in those days.
Yeah.
You know,
You
you
had
look
to-
at Axl or any lead singer, the songs that they've written, they are reading. You know, everybody's got a teleprompter, except Jagger. See, this is the thing about Mick Jagger. He's a scientist, this guy. You know, he's the greatest rock and roll guy ever, and he keeps his band together. And there's only two left.
Yep.
Right. But anyway, so I would, you know, didn't have the teleprompter. But I could care less. I would have gone out there and just went, blah, 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 blah. Ooh, blah, blah, blah. You know, it wouldn't matter because they're just going bonkers at them. The kids, the Duran fans and all that.
Right.
The funny thing about going out and doing that, because I did it for 6 months, I toured with those guys. And what happened was in the very beginning, in the first week or two, there'd be John Taylor here, gorgeous, you know, Andy Taylor here, brilliant, and me in the middle. And what would happen is the 40,000 girls in the front would just park like the Red Sea. And there was a big pathway in the middle of me, which I could have walked down because everybody was really going crazy for the Taylor boys. And I thought, this is your chance. This is a Buddhist chance to not care about that. Let them enjoy themselves as much as they possibly could. But within a couple of weeks, I was jumping up and down. I was really fit, you know, and I stay fit, you know, my life. And I'm then off with the shirt, and and I'm sober at that time too. So the other two, shall we say, were not. And you know, and some nights, tricky situations. And eventually they like, you know, I became a Durrani.
Well, those girls who went like this they not only missed you, but they missed the drummer, a hell of a drummer there, Tony Thompson.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? You know, the only better drummer than that was Bonzo, you know, than him. Tony Thompson was the guy.
Absolutely. I think I saw Power Station at the old exhibition stadium in Toronto with Paul Young.
Yeah.
You were touring with Paul Young, I think, at the time.
He did a couple of shows.
Yeah, I think
I loved him. He was great. You know, maybe he still is. I don't know, but he's a great singer for sure. He was actually could have done a better job than I did. I think with you know, because Power Station is sort of pop R&B stuff, their songs, and then you know I just written Obsession, and and John said let's do that, and we played rock and roll.
You did that,
yeah. Well, the more that the tour went on, the more rock and roll it became, because I sing on a Marriott level, whereas Palmer is down in this beautiful baritone voice that he has. Incredible singer. I loved him for 10 years before I even knew the Duran people existed. But you know, so he was great. But I didn't sing in that level. I was so as the tour went on, it got more rock and roll-y.
I mean, obviously, that whole project was meant to be a one-off, right, for the Duran boys, for those two Taylors, and then on the other end of it, Arcadia for Simon and Nick. Was there ever any pressure because of the success of it? Obviously, the record with Palmer, and then you with the tour. Was there ever any pressure from the record company or from you guys internally to say, let's keep doing this, let's do another record?
Well, no, because it's all about Duran. You know, I mean. Yes, the thing was very successful, but Duran, they made the right move. They tried to do another album with Robert.
Yeah.
And
just didn't quite have the same effect.
yeah. So then, you know, then the Duran boys, you know, conquered the world and are a huge rock and roll band. So they should be.
One of switching gears a little bit, I mentioned WKRP off the top. One of my absolute favorite TV moments in history, and probably many other millions of people as well, was you playing Dog, Scum of the Earth on that one episode. My God, one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my entire life. What I didn't know until I started doing prep for this interview was that the Scum of the Earth wasn't. I always assumed it was just you, who I knew, and two other hired actors that were there to do it. That was actually the members of Detective, correct? Was that all the whole band?
The two other guys were actors.
Oh, were they? See, I
They
thought I
were,
was told that
yeah,
the
they
guys.
were not detective. No, no, no. They were two terrific actors, and but I don't know. I ended up, you know, being dog. You know, it's the highest rated WKRP episode
Yeah,
ever,
yeah.
which is very cool. You know, I'll take it. You know, and but no, it was two guys. One guy, Jimmy Henderson, he's left the planet now, but he was in a band, kind of, you know. And the other guy was a very Peter. He was very, very, you know, strict about his comedic abilities. You know. Meanwhile, I'd been up for a week. I swear to God, you know, I was out of my mind during that episode.
Wow. Well, yeah, yeah, absolutely nailed it. And that is part of television lore. I mean, that's definitely something. And then you, of course, moved on. The ironic thing is that you got to play a DJ, which you're doing now, on the reboot, which reboots
Yeah,
are a
yeah,
thing.
it's been a weird and wild, wonderful, you know, encyclopedic yeah, gig. Yeah, but the thing about it is, I don't want to make the you guys out there want to be actors and actresses and everybody in between. Is that you really got to be serious about this stuff? But the thing what I was doing, I was already in detective, and you know, with Zeppelin and Jimmy and Robert and Bonzo, and my life was very different then. It was a cocaine life. It was a rock and roll life. And the guy who produced the WKRP saw me playing because his kids liked me and went, you know, liked the band and came to see us. And he said, "You want to do this?" So it wasn't me going in, going, you know, an audition. I wouldn't go on auditions, you know. So he would, "I'll get the real thing," you know. And yeah, and then that happened because a lot of that stuff is ad lib. It's not, it wasn't written.
How many times in your life have you had people come up and talk to you about that 30-minute piece of your life?
Every day,
Unbelievable.
every day. You know, in elevators and whenever I'm buying black clothing. You know,
We talked we talked about Power Station. I loved Detective. I thought that was a band that I wish you had kept going with. To be perfectly honest, they were fantastic.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
A few years ago, we mentioned we stopped on it. You took a job, an actual day job, like the rest of us, doing Steve Little Steven's Underground Garage. Is that something you started that a decade, 2014, right? What's it like being on that side of the mic? You touched on it a little bit, but like playing other people's music. Here in Canada, we have the CRTC, which tells us what to play, right? You have to play a certain amount of Canadian music.
Oh,
They basically hand you a playlist and say, here's what you play. What's your day like? Good God, I wish it was like that here. What's your day like? I mean, what time do you start in the morning and you get going? How do you pick the songs that you're playing? Same way you pick the songs on this record, I would assume.
yeah. I mean, I always get up at 5 or 6 a.m. You know, and run and work out and all of that stuff. But when Stevie called me, because Andrew Loog Oldham, who is an icon and a brilliant man, and obviously, as you know, you clearly know your stuff, you know, was producing the Stones and stuff. And he was the guy, the morning guy in New York. And they had, shall we say, a difficult vibe, the two of them, Stevie and Andrew. And I was interviewing people on social media, and from Marianne Williamson to Gene Simmons, you know, I was interviewing people. There's a couple for you. No kissing. And you know, and Maureen Van Zandt, Stevie's beautiful, smart, brilliant wife, dancer, singer, great, really talented woman, whispered in Stevie's ear, "You should get that Michael Desbarres rocking, you know, and pop him in there." And he called me, and he said, "You want to try this out?" And I did for a couple of weeks, and that was 10.5 years ago. And I just adored it. You know why? Because it wasn't me. It was somebody else. It was somebody else playing playing me, and somebody turned into a different person, where you're not selling yourself, where you are introducing songs to people you think will love it. So that's a very beautiful feeling every day, 3 hours, right? Because you can't just walk in there, and you know this, and get on the mic and go, well, let's see, Shangri-La's, let's do the Shangri-La's. You know, I want to know not what the singer in the middle is about, but what the two girls on the other side. You know, I want to know. I want to know about Ronnie Lane, Stevie Marriott's co-partner in writing In the Small Faces. Brilliant. And so as I learn and as I've learned, I can bring that to the people out there, and they love it. They love the music much more if they know who's playing it.
Absolutely.
If you know who's playing that, you know, Wilson Pickett's just got out of jail and he sings, you know, whatever. You know, and I say these things because they do extraordinary historic work on who they are, what the fuck they did, when they got married, how many kids they got, did they actually do a duet with Otis Redding? You know, was Roger Daltrey really furious at Townsend and that particular thing? Hello. And you know, so there's so many different things that I can sum up and bring up rather, and they go, oh, I didn't know that, which is my favorite thing. Oh, I didn't know that. That's my favorite T-shirt phrase. You know, because well, you do now, you know, to stick around, and that's 3 hours a day for 10.5 years with 2 weeks holiday. But you see, the thing is, my life, I don't need to do all of this. And you know what I'm talking about. I don't need to do that. But I wanted to be part of another thing where I could not be touring, recording, bad guy, nutty guy. I just want to be me and you know, and bring songs that I love, songs that will be appreciated. And they probably haven't heard them before. And that seemed to me like almost like a, you know, a spiritual journey.
Well, I can't think of a better way to spend your time. That's for sure, is sharing music. That's all we do here at TRP. You are a natural behind the microphone, telling stories and sharing memories. That's the one thing that I love the most. Just your love and positivity that you have. Anybody who follows you on social media sees it on your Instagram as well. Just like you are when you perform. The album, once again, is called It's Only Rock and Roll. It's out tomorrow, which is October the 11th. It's been a pleasure, Michael. I'm so glad that we were finally able to hook up and do this. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time, and we'll see you down the road. Good luck with the record.
I'll see you on the road, but don't say on the road too often.
No, not on. Not
I've
down.
been on the road for way too long.
Down.
Maybe I won't be again now. You were wonderful. Thank you so much.